Once we know how we can visualize which pages are part of the navigation stack, it is also good to know that the navigation stack can be manipulated. What do I mean by this? Well, we can insert intermediate pages into the navigation stack, and we can also remove pages from the navigation stack. Let's see how to perform these actions. I'm going to create a new page inside the pages folder, and we're going to call it cool page. Let's leave the page as it is. Let's go back to the utilities class called nav utilities. As part of this class, let's create a new static void method called insert page. Let's pass as a parameter a reference to an iNavigation type. The purpose of this method is to allow us to insert a page between the first and second page. To do this, let's first get a reference to the second page. There are several ways to do this. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to create a variable called second page. In the assignment, I'm going to access the navigation stack, and I'm going to indicate that I want to get an element at index number 1, which is where the second page is going to be in the navigation stack. Then let's validate if page is not equal to null to avoid any problems. Once we have done this, let's type navigation dot, and we see a method called insert page before, which is going to allow us to insert a page before another page. In fact, if we review the signature of the method, we see that it asks us which is the page to be inserted, and then which is the page that is going to be taken as a reference to insert before the page that we need to insert. Let's use the method and as first parameter pass a new instance of cool page. We must import the required namespace, and as a second parameter, let's indicate that the reference page to insert the page is second page, which is the reference we obtained previously. To test this new method that we have created, let's go to the code behind final page. In order not to create another button, we're going to use the event handler that allows us to navigate to the initial page. I'm going to comment this line, and instead I'm going to indicate that I want to use navutilities.insertPage, and we're going to pass again the navigation property. What should happen is that when we invoke this method, a page of the cool page type is inserted after the first page. To be able to see the navigation stack from this page, I'm going to copy what we did before, that is to say, the overwriting of the onAppearing method in the code behind of the page. I paste the code, we have to import the namespace that is needed, and let's test what happens when we start the execution. Once the application has been deployed, let's click on the button that says Go to page 2. Then go to page 3, and remember that we implement the functionality in this second button. So I click on this button, and nothing seems to have happened. However, if we go back to page number 2 and check the navigation stack, we can see in the navigation stack the initial page, which is start page, and then the new page that has been inserted called cool page, and finally the page 2 page, which is the one we are currently on. With this, we can insert as many pages as we want by clicking on this button. I'm going to click the button several times. I'm going to page number 2. Let's go through the current navigation stack one more time, and we see that we already have multiple references to the cool page that we have inserted through this button. I also mentioned you earlier that we can remove pages from the navigation stack. Let's say, for example, the initial page of your application is a login page, which is a very common thing, and we need to remove it when the user logs into the application. Let's see how we could implement this. I'm going to go back to the utilities class, and I'm going to create a new static void method called deletePage. We need to once again pass in an iNavigation type. And to make this method a little more generic, we're going to request as a parameter the name of the page to be deleted. Once we have done this, let's get the reference of the page we are trying to delete through its name. To do this, let's create a variable called page2delete, which is equal to navigation.navigationStack to access the navigation stack, and let's try to get the element from its name. Writing x.getType.name equal to page name, which is the name of the parameter. If a reference is found, that is, if page2delete is not equal to null, we will indicate navigation dot, and we can see a method called removePage, which asks us for an instance of a page that we want to remove from the navigation stack. Let's use the method and pass page2delete, which is the reference we got from the page name. Once we have done this, let's go to the code behind of the start page. Let's assume that here the user is successfully logged in, and after performing the navigation we want to remove this page from the navigation stack. Let's use navUtilities.deletePage. Let's pass the navigation property and also the name of the page we want to delete, which in this case is start page. Once we have done this, let's start the application to test the functionality. If we try to click on the button that says go to start page, we see that this no longer works because there is no longer a previous page. If we click on the button that says go to page 3 and we check the output, we see that the start page no longer appears as part of the navigation stack, but the start page is the page 2 page.